Ladies and gentlemen, please help us count down the last 10 seconds to kick off International China Concern Gala 2021, the race against time. And now, please welcome your Master of Ceremonies, Mr. David Gotts.
Hey David, looks like you could use a lift.
Alright, what can I get for you?
Can I get 2 black coffees, one with 1 sugar, please? Thank you so much. You have been a lifesaver.
Oh, David, it was my absolute pleasure. Have a great show tonight.
I know. I shouldn't have got the coffee.
Next time, you gotta listen to the blind guy.
Hello, my name is David Gotts and I'm the founder of International China Concern, and I'm your host for this evening. I'd like to welcome all our friends from across Western Canada to the Race Against Time Gala. We're excited to have you with us and we're looking forward to a fun, inspiring and meaningful time together. Now, just for the record, I am wearing my jeans. I really do hope you enjoyed that funny skit. Para-Olympian Donovan Tilsley was a great sport and we had a lot of fun making it together. Going through the drive-thru at McDonald's, being pushed in a kid's stroller, I have to say was a little embarrassing. But as I said, Donovan was a great sport and he is one of the great Canadian Para-Olympians. He's a Para-Olympic swimmer that has 5 gold medals, 4 silver medals and 3 bronze medals during his career. But next time, please remind me not to make such a fool of myself. Okay, more importantly, I hope you enjoyed seeing the images of the children as we counted down to the beginning of this live stream. Every one of those children that you saw is a member of ICC's big family. We know each one by name, we know their circumstances, their challenges, their pain, and their victories. And we're with them every step of the way as they run their race. This evening, first and foremost, is about these children. It's about the 620 children that ICC already serves. And even more critically, it's about the thousands of other children with disabilities that ICC has the opportunity to serve. For those children with a disability who are still in China's welfare system, as well as for those families raising a child with a disability that are still waiting for help, time is running out. And that's why tonight's event is called The Race Against Time. You see, we're in a race to help those families that have a child with a disability before the mounting pressures of stigma, prejudice and poverty breaks them apart. As you'll hear tonight, every day that passes pushes these families towards unimaginable places of pain. And we're also in a race to help those children with disabilities that remain in China's welfare centres, those that are experiencing neglect and hopelessness. Time is running out for them to receive the love and the care and the support that they need. And there are very real consequences to that. Without that support, a child may never learn to walk, may never learn to feed him or herself, never know the security and the protection that they need, or what it means to be part of a family. Never know what it feels like to be included or to go to school or receive an education or medical care. In fact, for some, they may not even live. So tonight we're asking you to join the race against time. We're asking you to be a part of this movement that can bring hope to families and help them stay together. And we're asking you to reach out across the miles into the lives of children with the pain of abandonment, isolation and hopelessness. so that they can receive love, care, and the support that they need. Well, we've got a great evening planned for you tonight, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what you can expect during our gala this evening.
The first years of her life were spent living in terrible poverty in a Chinese welfare center. Tonight, Sun Wu shares the story of her 25-year journey to become an accomplished pianist and music teacher. Living with a disability creates challenges no matter where in the world you are. Meet Lowell and Julie, a couple whose passion for adventure has taken them across the globe. Although Lowell is blind, he does not let that limit his dreams, and his sights are now set on representing his country in the Tokyo Paralympics. Meet Liang Liang, a young boy with Down syndrome whose race has just begun. Expected to die as a baby, Liang Liang has defied all the doctor's expectations and is growing up as a beloved part of the ICC family. Jiaxin's mother contemplated taking both her daughter's life and her own because of the pressure and isolation of raising a child with a disability. We'll hear of the hope that Jiaxin's mother found and how that hope can impact 7,000 more families.
I'm so excited about this evening. Over the last months, as we've been preparing for this gala, I've had the opportunity to connect into some amazing stories. And I've also had the opportunity to meet some incredible people who you will meet tonight. And I'm in no doubt by the end of this evening, your hearts will not only have been touched, but you'll be really greatly inspired by these amazing people. Well, this evening, we're also trying to raise funds so that ICC's work can impact even more lives. Our goal this evening is to raise $100,000. Now, earlier today, Eastern Canada kicked off our gala schedule and donated $34,200. So a big thank you to all of those from Eastern Canada. Western Canada, it's now your turn. So let's launch our thermometer. Let's get it live. Okay, there we go. We can see that we are at $35,100 as we kick off this event this evening. That's an amazing amount, but it's our starting place as we race towards the finish line. And what I love about this year's thermometer is that we have this little running guy here. And if you can see, he has 2 prosthetic legs. And as we continue to see donations come in, he's going to move towards the finish line and you can help him finish his race. Now, we know that many of you already generously give to ICC, but we hope that tonight's event both challenges and inspires you as you see what ICC is racing to do and the lives that are waiting to be changed. Later on, as we come to the end of our evening, there will be a time for you to reflect on all that you've heard and seen and to decide what your response will be. However, if you aren't able to stay around for the whole event, and I do hope you will, here is the link that will enable you to donate this evening. The link is www.givecan.live. That's www.givecan.live. Or there's this little fella here, this QR code, and you can simply scan that QR code and it will take you to the giving page. Well, at whatever point you make a donation this evening, your gift will be added to our live thermometer and it will move us closer towards our goal. This evening, I am so excited to introduce my first guest to you. I first met Sun Wu back in 1994 when I first visited the Changsha Welfare Centre. The conditions at that time were absolutely tragic and the mortality rates were so high they were up to 80% for children with a disability. I remember meeting this particular 5-year-old girl called Sun Wu. In the midst of living in terrible suffering, I could see in her eyes the will to live. There was a strength in her, and while she really was bent under the weight of her suffering, she wasn't broken. Would you please join me in welcoming to the Race Against Time Gala, Sun Wu.
Sun Wu, 你好，很高兴你能参加我们今天晚上的募款活动。
高先生你好，
我记得我第一次来到长沙就是1993年，你那时候才有几岁？你还记得当年那个来参访的外国朋友团队吗？
那时候我5岁， 虽然当时不太记得，但是在1997年的时候，我就记得你这个蓝鼻子的蓝眼睛的高富帅高先生，你太帅了，太帅了。
哎呀，哪里，我不好意思啊。这么多年来，中国已经发生了很大的变化，但是能不能跟我们聊一聊你那时候在福利院的生活是什么情况的呢？
那个时候的福利院是很简陋的，几乎什么都没有，没有老师教我们学习，吃的也很少，每天只有2个很难吃的菜，而且很多时候都吃不饱，吃的时候我们小伙伴都要靠抢的，也没有新衣服穿，一件衣服我记得要穿很久很久很久，而且每天都必须坐在马桶上，不能到处跑。对了，我还记得没有牙刷刷牙，当时我就用手指压刷牙，这样。如果我幸好小时候吃的糖也比较少，不然我恐怕就长蛀牙了。
嗯，我记得那时候的条件真的很艰苦的。事实上，这是我为什么创办 ICC 的原因，就是因为我相信，像你和李氏、王贵、王华、你朋友等等，你们应该得到更多的关爱和进步成长的机会。我记得我们绿洲中心由1997年1月正式成立，那是 ICC 和中国政府合作的第一个项目。此后的几个星期内，你们就陆续被送到绿洲中心了。你记得搬过去之后，你们的生活有什么变化吗？
变化太多太多了，比如说进门出门都有不同的衣服和鞋子，晚上睡觉还得换睡衣，以及最记得的是每天饭后都必须要刷牙的，每天也有很丰盛的菜肴，3菜1汤，上午和下午都有水果吃，中午还要午睡的，每天还有老师教我们学习、做游戏，还有好多的玩具和衣服，我们的生活就像公主般的生活一样。
我知道你一直有一个想学习钢琴的梦想，那你是不是到绿洲中心之后开始学的？又是什么帮助你真的实现了这个梦想呢？
从小在绿洲当时其实还不知道什么是钢琴，我们那个时候只有电子琴。后来有一次偶然的机会，ICC 有一个爱心人帮我们捐赠了一台钢琴，然后当时我们机构的一个小朋友也在学习钢琴，我就在旁边偷学来着，然后偷学来着呢，然后呢有个新加坡的林老师发现了，他就说：孙武，你是不是想学钢琴呀？我说是啊，是啊，是啊。他说那你会不会好好学？会不会坚持学？我说一定会的。就这样，他就资助了我10节课，然后 ICC 资助我2年之后，就说可能还是觉得学习有点困难了。然后，不过这个时候我要感谢上帝，他派来了一位天使，就派来了我的丽丽老师，他来教我钢琴。然后我就在这基础用了4年的时间考完了钢琴10节，然后现在也和他在一起教其他的小朋友弹钢琴，我觉得这是一件很感恩的事情。
哇，那非常好！现在你已经成为了一个优秀的钢琴师了，就像所有其他动手练习的孩子一样。但是我们知道，你是比一般的人付出了更多难以想象的努力，才有今天的成就的。我记得你几年之前被邀请去参加中国一个国家电视节目的钢琴表演，能不能跟我们聊一聊你是如何得到这样一个宝贵表演的机会呢？
那是在 ICC 还有福利院以及我钢琴老师的筹划和策划之下，还有其他的爱心朋友的资助之下，办了我的这场个人的独奏会，是在长沙最大的音乐厅办的，真的很感谢，再次感谢大家的帮助。
哇，我非常好的一个经验。我想与大家分享一下你那次钢琴的表演的录像，可以吗？
OK，没问题，可以的。
谢谢。 谢谢索努非常精彩的表演。我们很荣幸 ICC 成为你生命成长的一部分。现在我们世界上的朋友，他们都知道你的故事，也看到了你很精彩的表演。在我们时间结束之前，你有什么话想对大家说的呢？
如果没有几年前的高先生你的帮助，就是来探访我们这个福利院，可能就没有现在的 ICC， 就是也没有现在的我。因为我觉得就因为你们的到来，你们的爱，让我的生活真的是有了一个翻天覆地的变化。而如今在中国还有很多像我们这样的残疾的孩子需要大家的帮助，所以我在这里呼吁大家，真诚的呼吁大家来支持 ICC， 让更多的残疾孩子能够享受到爱、希望、机会。谢谢。
谢谢索努，谢谢你今天晚上参加我们的活动。我们也和大家一起祝愿你继续健康快乐的生活下去。再见。
拜拜。
拜拜。
谢谢。
I feel so humbled when I hear Swanu's story. I think back to that young girl that I met all those years ago and now the amazing journey that she's been on, from being abandoned, suffering with that painful physical disability and without hope, to now being an accomplished musician and piano teacher. You know, it isn't very often that you can tell a 27-year story like this. What I really love is that you get to see the long arc of ICC's work. I call it the long journey of love. You can see how walking alongside a child not only truly changes their lives, but it helps them achieve their potential. And in this instance, it made dreams come true. But as Swanu said, there are so many other children just like her. They're waiting for this kind of help, this kind of support. And that's why we're here tonight, isn't it? To afford those opportunities of love and hope to those that are living without them right now. Now, whether you are born with a disability or whether you acquire a disability at some time in your life, you are going to experience challenges. Tonight, we're not only hearing from children and families that ICC serves, but from another group of people living with a disability, Paralympic athletes. I'm so excited to introduce these guests to you because they serve to remind us that having a disability should not mean having to give up on your dreams. Now, I first saw Lowell and Julie Taylor on my family's favourite TV show, The Amazing Race Canada. If you don't know what The Amazing Race is, it's a race where 12 couples compete to complete a race across Canada and sometimes the world, and along the way they have to complete these challenging tasks and overcome obstacles to win both the race and a prize of $250,000. In season 4, The Amazing Race introduced us to Lowell and Julie, one of those 12 couples in the race. What made them stand out for me is that Lowell and Julie, whilst filled with energy and a love for life, also faced a certain extra degree of challenge in their competing. You see, Lowell is blind. Imagine racing across Canada and the world, rappelling off buildings, hanging from a skytram 2,000 feet above the ground when you have virtually no vision. As the weeks went by, my family and I became real fans of Lowell and Julie. And whilst Lowell faced the challenge of his disability, it didn't stop him and Julie from competing. It's my real pleasure tonight to welcome from Lethbridge, Alberta, Lowell and Julie Taylor. Lowell and Julie, welcome to the Race Against Time Gala. I'm really thrilled to have you join us this evening.
Hello, thank you for having us. We're thrilled to be here.
Now, in 2016, you both took up the huge challenge of taking part in The Amazing Race Season 4. And my family and I are big fans of that show. And actually, we were big fans of you too. We cheered for you as you were racing. And I wanted to begin by asking you if there was one particular highlight from your time on The Amazing Race that really just stood out to you.
Thanks for cheering us on, first of all. Our second leg in Vietnam was definitely my favorite. I had been worried going in about crossing the super busy Vietnam roads because I was guiding my blind husband and our crew, and I was worried I'd get us all killed. But our cab driver forged ahead, parted the traffic, and then wouldn't even accept payment for it after when we tried to pay him generously.
And I got to do some things that I wouldn't get to do otherwise. One of those was running this tugboat to push log jams in northern BC on the ocean. It was so awesome. In the Amazing Race, you get to do things you don't get to do anywhere else, like rappel off the Calgary Tower and bungee jump off a Skytram in Jasper. It's pretty epic.
Yeah, I loved watching you do that. I still remember when you let go of the monkey bars on the Skytram and you fell, and the look on your face was just like pure enjoyment. I loved seeing that. And I wanted to ask you, where does this adventurous spirit come from, and what led you to take part in the Amazing Race?
Shortly after getting married, we actually lived in New Zealand for a year, and we took part in every single crazy adventure that they had to offer. During that time, we received so many messages from people prompting us to apply for the Amazing Race. But at that time, the Canadian version didn't even exist. When the Canadian one did start, we watched with special interest. And it was in 2016 that we thought, oh, Lowell still has a little bit of sight left. And our kids seemed old enough to leave with my parents for 5 weeks. Looking back, they were babies and we were crazy. They were only 3 and 4. But I love hanging out with Lowell and giving him the chance to see and do as much as possible before he loses his sight completely was definitely motivation enough for me to do the race with him.
Yeah, I'm a blind guy who doesn't look blind. I have a genetic eye condition. It's degenerative. It's called retinitis pigmentosa. And I'm slowly losing my vision ever since I was a child. My grandpa had it as well, and he went blind at the age of 40, and I'm almost 40 now. So there's this degeneration of my vision, and it means that I'm slowly losing things, and it's a perpetual grief, a perpetual loss. Once able to do something, now I'm unable to do it.
Yeah, wow. That's really, really challenging. But, you know, one of the things I think that was so apparent on The Amazing Race is this hasn't stopped you from wanting to A, live a life full of adventure, and B, realize dreams. And that's pretty incredible. Julie, what's it like for you being married to someone who thrives on taking up such incredible challenges? Are you someone who loves challenges too?
Sometimes watching him terrifies me, like when he and his tandem cycling pilot reach 103 kilometers per hour on a bike, or when he is sauntering across monkey bars hanging from a sky tram 2,000 meters above ground. But it's hard to worry too much when when living out his adventures brings him so much joy and such a huge grin to his face. I like to challenge myself in slightly lower key ways, such as putting together an IKEA dresser.
Yeah, and anybody who has ever put together an IKEA dresser knows how challenging that can be. So anyway, Lowell, I want to ask you a question about this long-held dream that you've had to take part in the Paralympics. I know that you've been hoping to go to Japan this year. Tell me a little bit about where that dream is up to and what motivates you to kind of reach for those heights.
Yeah, I need a big goal to work towards. And the Paralympics is the top of that in the sporting realm for us who have a disability. So I'm aiming to be a paracyclist to represent Canada at the Paralympics. However, COVID has really thrown a wrench into some of the plans. So even now, it's up in the air whether I'm able to attend or not. So I continue to have to focus on the process, focus on training and being the best version of myself, being ready to perform, and realizing I'm doing this for fun, for passion, for inspiration, and to be the best, healthiest version of myself.
That's fantastic.
As we move towards this, the next goal will be to represent Canada at the Road World Championships, try to qualify for Tokyo still, and then reset my sights if I don't make it, and reset it to Paris 2024 for the next Paralympic Games.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure no matter whether it's taking part in the Amazing Race or training for the Paralympics, there must be a whole kind of ecosystem of support that makes this possible. Can you share with us a little bit about the different supports that make this possible for you?
First and foremost, I would say we are each other's biggest supporters. And I am certainly Lowell's #1 fan. But we also have tons of amazing and supportive family and friends. And at the very top of that list is my parents. They live a couple blocks away from us. They are second parents to our kids. We are so grateful for them and would not be doing life without them. Our larger community as well, even some people we haven't met personally, have been hugely supportive. And we are so grateful.
Yeah, that's great. Having each other and family and a community of support really does make all the difference. And as you know, unfortunately for the families that we work with in China, those families that have children with disabilities and the children themselves, they don't have those supports. They don't have that kind of community system, family systems around them to support and encourage them. And when you hear about children living in these immensely difficult situations of stigma and prejudice and poverty, what goes through your mind? What goes on in your hearts?
The first word that comes to mind is unfair. We feel so lucky that we were born into loving, functional family units in a country like Canada. We have so much privilege and so much to be grateful for. Children do not choose to enter life in these situations, so it doesn't seem fair and it hurts our hearts.
And realizing that privilege, it also makes us feel this immense amount of responsibility that we can be part of supporting others and supporting those who are struggling through all of their different challenges.
Well, and you're definitely doing that tonight through taking part in this Race Against Time Gala. Lowell, Julie, you have been such an inspiration to my family. And so I really want to thank you for that, because you're showing us something. You're showing us an example of what it means to live life to the fullest, even when you're facing great challenges. And as we come to the end of our time, I'd love to give you an opportunity to speak a few words directly to those people that are watching tonight.
We want to thank everyone for coming to the gala this evening. This work is changing the lives of really vulnerable children that need our help.
Thank you for being here, and please give generously so that ICC can continue to have this massive impact on so many families and so many children who are struggling with disability.
Lowell and Julie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedules to be with us. And thanks for encouraging us all to do our best for China's most vulnerable children.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
I really love this couple. Aren't they amazing? I'd like to pick up, though, on what Julie specifically said just now. She said that she felt so lucky that she'd been born into a loving family here in Canada. And she was recognizing that where you were born can often determine what your life is going to be like. She also said children do not choose to enter life in these circumstances. That's so true. The families that have a child with a disability and those children that have been abandoned into welfare centres because they have a disability, they didn't choose to be in these situations. Lowell, by virtue of being in a nation like Canada, a nation that affords support and opportunity to those with disabilities, is able to pursue his dreams and realise his full potential, as he said, to be the best version of himself. The children and families that ICC is reaching, by virtue of being in China, find themselves barely able to hang on to hope, and they are losing their race against time. And yet we can do something about that tonight. We can share from the little or from the abundance we have. And in doing so, we can change that. We can give them the opportunity to run their race, to win their race with strength and also with hope. Well, let's check in and see where we are at right now. Let's take a look at our thermometer. So we are at $45,650. So we've gone up about $10,000 since the event began. Thank you so much to all of you that have given. We appreciate it so much. And you can see our little fella moving more towards that finish line. Let me quickly remind you of the giving link again. There you can see it. It is www.givecan.live. So www.givecan.live, or you can scan the QR code and that will take you straight to the donation page. Every dollar you give will help us to reach more families that have a child with a disability and to provide care for children that have already experienced abandonment. For a child that has experienced abandonment, as I've said, life in a welfare centre in China is cruel and lonely. There's often little understanding of the special kinds of care that a child with a disability requires, and there's little motivation to keep these children and babies healthy. As soon as a child with a disability is born, it's like the clock starts ticking. I know this on a very personal level. You see, when my second son, Kieran, was diagnosed with a disability at 3 months old, I remember how we were surrounded by infant development specialists, therapists, medical personnel, all of whom wanted Kieran to have everything he needed to succeed. They knew that the sooner Kieran got that support, the greater the chance of him achieving his potential. Unfortunately, it's just not the same in China. And that's why children are abandoned into welfare centres, where life really is harsh. And that is why ICC continues to reach out to children in those welfare centres. You see, if ICC's medical staff And therapists and social workers and vocational trainers and special educators can reach these children in their earliest days. Well, that race against time suddenly becomes a journey towards them becoming who God wants them to be. This evening, I'd like to share with you the story of one little boy who, without the love and support he's getting from ICC, probably wouldn't be alive today. Here is Gala Alexander, ICC's China Operations Director, with Liang Yang's story.
Hi everyone, my name's Gala Alexander. I'm ICC's China Operations Director, and it's great to be here tonight with you at the Race Against Time Gala. And we in ICC, we really are in a race against time to help children in China with disabilities. I've been working in China with ICC for 20 years now, and I see firsthand every day the difference and the transformation that comes into families' lives, families that have children with disabilities, when we come around them and support them, and the transformation that comes around children when we place them in families in our care centres. And I want to thank you, all of you, for partnering with us and being a part of that transformation. And today, I want to tell you a little story about a little guy that I know. I've known him since he was born. And his name is Liang Yang, and he was born in 2013. And he was born with Down syndrome. And around about the age of 6 days old, his parents felt that they couldn't take care of him anymore. And he wound up in the welfare centre. He was diagnosed at that point with a really severe congenital cardiac abnormality. And we were told at the time, he was in welfare centre care at the time when we first met him, and we were told that he wouldn't live. His heart defect was so severe that he just wouldn't survive. So we began to support the welfare centre in providing him care. We didn't have any space in our care centre at that time, but we began to support them. And this little guy continued to survive the next couple of months, and it was decided that he would move into our ICC care centre, and we would give him care for as long as he lived and as long as he needed. Little Liang survived, and he continued to live despite the diagnosis he was given, and eventually doctors said that they were willing to operate on him. And he went to Beijing and had surgery when he was a couple of years old, and then came back and thrived again within our care centre. Liang Yang needs pretty specialised therapy. He needs very specialised education services. He is a child with pretty significant needs, but he is an absolute blessing to his community. He is part of our woodpecker family, and there he's the little guy that loves all the cuddles. He loves climbing. He's really starting to develop with his walking skills and his motor skills, although he's not walking independently yet. I think he will be very soon. Just watching him run his race and meet his goals and meet his potential through the love that he's been given through ICC is such a great blessing. And you make that possible. We've heard some Olympians tonight, and they've told us our story and how they need a community to help them to run their race. Well, Liang Yang's running his race because of the community that's around him, supporting him, and thank you for that. And yeah, I ask you to give so that thousands of more children like Liang Yang can run their race and meet the potential that God has for them. So good night, and God bless, and thank you for supporting ICC with the work that we do.
Liang Yang is a beautiful boy, and for me this is a beautiful example of a little boy who would have died in a welfare centre. But because he came to ICC and became part of the woodpecker family, he didn't just survive his disability, he's actually now thriving. Now, for those of you that were with us last year, I was really excited to premiere a song at our Black Tie Fuzzy Slippers Gala that had been written by one of ICC's staff. This year, Alison Kennedy, our very own head of therapy and singer-songwriter, has blessed us again with a new song. So sit back and enjoy The Race by Alison Kennedy.
There's a rhythm rhythm in my soul. The race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Through the rain and through the rays and through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul. The race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Looking high, feeling deep, need to know that you're with me. Are you with me? It's feeling wild, feeling weak, I don't know of me. Through the rain, through the rays, through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul. There's a race I need to run. Can you take my hand? Everybody needs someone. Through the rain, through the rays, and through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul. The race I need to run.
I love seeing our kids taking part in that 2021 sports day that happened just a couple of months ago. And I think the words of the song that Alison wrote are really beautiful, and they do speak to what children with their disabilities and what their families would say to us if they could speak directly. They'd say, there's a race I want to run. They want to live their lives. They want to realise their potential, and we can help them do that. Well, my next guest's life was unexpectedly changed in a single moment. However, being in a wheelchair, whilst obviously a challenge, has not stopped Josh reaching and attaining great heights as an elite athlete. Will you please join me in welcoming Team Canada Paralympic gold medalist Josh Dueck to the Race Against Time Gala. Josh, welcome to the Race Against Time Gala. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join us, and it's a real pleasure to have you here with us.
David, it's so good to be here and be part of a team that serves a higher purpose of service around the world. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of the gala.
Yeah, you're totally welcome. Well, Josh, you have a pretty amazing and inspiring story, but I want to begin at the beginning of that story and take you back to the moment when you had your skiing accident. Can you tell us a little bit more about that moment and how your life changed as a result of it?
Sure, I'll do my best to give a brief summary. I grew up in the mountains, so that is a big part of who I am. I was part of a ski team and then ski community, and then evolved into becoming a coach. While coaching, I went to demonstrate a trick to the kids, blew it, over-rotated the front flip, overshot the landing hill, landed on my chest, dislocated my back. And not only did my world get flipped upside down by acquiring paralysis, I noted, and it was obvious, that the world of everybody that I was working with was flipped upside down.
Yeah, I'm sure. I would imagine that, going through something like that, you've got to face some really dark days, life just being dramatically and traumatically changed. And it would be so easy to think about giving up after such a traumatic event. When did you begin to see trauma in a different way? Because I know you have a pretty unique perspective on that.
I do, yeah. It's I think maybe an unusual story from what I've been told, in the sense that the acute reaction was love, hope, and gratitude. And when I had my accident, the doctor told me that one day I'd be back in the mountains riding a sit ski. So he had given me hope in a dark moment. A girl that I was really interested in stopped everything in her world to come and support me when I needed it most. So now I'm filled with love, I'm filled with hope, and the ski community around came and supported me till I, so to speak, got back on my feet.
Wow. And yeah, I mean, you've kind of answered part of my next question, but I know there's probably more to this as well, because I know recovering from that kind of accident, that kind of trauma, and then actually going on to become that elite athlete, it really demands so much. What's helped you on that journey? I mean, you talked about the girl who stopped her life and the doctor, but what have been the other things that have helped you on your journey towards being able to achieve your dreams and your goals?
Straight up, I feel like it's because I'm Canadian. I think the resources were in place and there was so much support. So I would say support would be one of the key things. So there was hope, which is a powerful tool in creating change, love, which is there, which is such a strong foundation. And it just so happened to be at the right place and the right time to acquire a disability and feel the support of a nation to strive towards a dream and a goal. And you take hope, you take love, and you take an opportunity with a support network. And it was, what kid wouldn't want to go outside and play, right?
What you've just touched on there, that love and that hope and that sense of opportunity, these are actually the three things that ICC brings to those that we serve. In fact, you may or may not know that, our slogan is love, hope, and opportunity for every child with a disability. And that's so important. And I think certainly what we've seen is that the children that we serve, they need that same love. They need that same hope. They need those opportunities. They need people around them that will help bring those opportunities and help release that potential so that they can also realize their dreams. I know you also feel a connection on more than one level to the families that ICC supports, particularly those that are living in financial hardship. And I know you shared with me in the past a little bit of your story in that way. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that has shaped you?
Back to the work ethic for sure. So my mom and dad both grew up in poverty with nothing. My dad was orphaned when he was 12 and had to work farm to farm to survive. My mom was nearly orphaned, but her mom didn't have the life skills to generate an income. So they lived in a chicken coop for their youth. So they grew up properly poor. I grew up on welfare, but my parents by that point in time in their life thought they were richer than anything. They had a home, they could provide meals most days of the week. They felt quite fortunate. And for me, because I lived in a home of responsibility over privilege every single time, if I wanted to attain something like a pair of skis or an experience like going skiing, I would just go to work and get it done. But again, I think that's a beautiful byproduct of living in a first world country where we're afforded these opportunities where we can work ourselves out of poverty. And I know a part of this conversation is to support those that don't have that same good fortune to work themselves out of it, at least in the acute phase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so many of the families that we work with really live in fairly extreme poverty, and they would love to work themselves out of it, but they find themselves so many times victims of stigma and prejudice that doesn't allow for that to happen. Well, Josh, just as we come to the close of this time together, I'd like to give you an opportunity just to share a few words with those that are watching this gala tonight.
I encourage everybody who shares these views and is here to support the ICC Children's and Youth to give generously so that we can change these stories and that they become so much more than just trauma and tragedy. Their stories would become ones of resilience and transformation and potential. We know that, David. We all know that as children of God and inhabitants of this planet, we all have a potential. We all have a spark, a divine spark that we need to express. And if we can just give that first step and a hand up, not a handout, but a hand up to these literally millions of people across China living with a disability, the opportunity to work, an opportunity to strive and to thrive through these difficult situations. I feel like we're going to do more than what we could ever imagine. And when I say that, I mean that they're going to bring a light to our world that is unimaginable. Because the human spirit is profound and contagious and beautiful. And I feel like the ask today is just to allow people to uncover that spirit that lives within. And the harder that God falls on us, likely the more transformative that spirit and that experience can be.
Yeah, Josh, well, listen, thank you so much. Beautiful words. And thank you for being with us tonight. We want to wish you every success as you prepare to lead Canada's Paralympians at Beijing 2022. And goodbye and God bless.
Thank you.
What I love about Josh is not only his belief that those with disabilities can achieve great things, but that they are an integral part of bringing change into our world. And we see that in China, the lives of children affecting communities as people get to know them and understand that they are to be welcomed and included. Josh also mentioned, of course, that a community of people helped him realise his dream of becoming a Paralympic athlete. And we see that in ICC too, that having a community around you to support you and help you to succeed is so critical when you have a disability. The children ICC serves need that community too. They need family, and that is what ICC becomes to them. And they need community, and that's not just those in their local neighbourhood, but it's caring people like you all around the world as you get behind the work of ICC. Josh, thank you for sharing your story, for your vulnerability, and for showing us what people who face real challenges can achieve. Okay, I'm excited. We're going to do another check-in and see where we are up to. Okay, so we are at $66,040. That is absolutely amazing. We are well on our way. You can see that our little guy here, he's actually getting pretty close towards crossing the finish line. I want to thank every one of you that have given for that incredible generosity this evening, because we are moving towards our goal. Let me give you another quick reminder of our giving link tonight. So it is www.givecan.live. www.givecan.live, or you can scan the little QR code. Please do give generously this evening. As I mentioned earlier this evening, my second son, Kieran, was born with a disability. My wife and I didn't find out about Kieran's challenges until he was 3 months old, which is when he began having seizures. As you can imagine, learning about Kieran's neurological condition was a shock, and it was overwhelming. I still remember the doctor telling us what Kieran's MRI had shown, and I remember the sense of disbelief. We were in hospital in crisis, trying to cope with watching our 3-month-old baby have seizures. You don't really think how you visualize the future of your new child until that future suddenly seems threatened. But when it is, you realize how many dreams you carry for your child. Simple dreams like being able to walk, being able to speak, being able to learn, graduating college, and being able to be independent. I remember asking a question of Kieran's neurologist. I asked, will Kieran be ever able to drive a car? What a strange question. And yet it was a question that I somehow needed answering, because somehow for me, Kieran being able to drive represented that he could become independent. Of course, we loved Kieran more than I can say. But the reality was that it was hard. It's hard when you're raising a child with special needs. It's hard to walk through those months in hospital, to deal with the reoccurring seizures, experiencing a deep sense of loss when things like speech and mobility don't develop. And we came to realize that our beautiful son would need our care for the rest of his life. And yet, for my wife and I, we felt embraced and we felt supported. First of all, by our faith in God, but by our family and our friends and our community, and the support that a developed nation like Canada can give. All through Kieran's life, we never doubted Kieran would have all he needed to raise to his fullest potential, and that we as parents would have access to support that would make our difficult journey somewhat easier. So why am I telling you all of this? Well, I'm telling you this because my next guest is David Bondy. David is the director of ICC's Family Partners Programme, or FPP. Every day, David and his team encounter families in China that face the same kind of beginning to their parenting story as Linda and I did. However, unlike our situation, they receive little to no support. Would you please join me in welcoming to the Race Against Time, David Bondy. David, welcome to the Race Against Time Gala. It's a real pleasure to have you with us this evening.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, David.
Now, one of the things we're talking about this evening is how we're in a race against time to support families that have a child with a disability before they break apart under the pressure of caring for their child. Rather than talking about the situation kind of hypothetically, I'd love it if you tell us specifically about one of the families that FPP has been working with.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Jiaxin is a 6-year-old girl. She's part of a loving family in Changsha. When you meet her, she's just the cutest little thing. But if you look into this little girl's story and the story of her family, you'll find immensely challenging circumstances. So when Jiaxin was born, her mother was really shocked when the doctor told her that Jiaxin not only had physical disability, but speech delay as well. Jiaxin's mother and father were committed to caring for her, but it was pretty tough. I mean, they began to encounter many health issues and challenges related to Jiaxin's disability, which had a big impact on their finances.
Before Jiaxin was 1 year old, she was always in the hospital. When she turned 1, she began to get a bit better. However, she would often get a persistent cough from drinking her milk because she couldn't swallow properly. This caused the pneumonia. Every month, we had to go to the community clinic for her to get an injection. It was much cheaper to do this than to stay in the hospital.
It must have been so stressful for Jiaxin's parents to deal kind of with the ups and downs of Jiaxin's health.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, when Jiaxin turned 3 years old, her parents decided that she needed to begin physical therapy.
And I know that therapy services in China are expensive and difficult to access. Oftentimes, they're just unaffordable for the majority of people.
That's absolutely true. So here's what Jiaxin's mother had to say about that herself.
The doctor told us that Jiaxin's development was delayed. He recommended physical therapy. However, there was just no way we could afford it.
It must be so heartbreaking to know that your child really needs help now, but you have to delay it due to your financial situation.
That's right. I mean, Jiaxin's parents, they were able to scrounge some money, and Jiaxin's mother was really engaged. She worked really hard with her to help Jiaxin learn to crawl. It was slow progress, but Jiaxin did begin to improve.
We did 2 months of physical therapy as the doctor told us that if Jiaxin could learn to crawl, then maybe she could learn to walk. When she was 1 year and 3 months old, Jiaxin herself was eager to walk. When she managed to get her body in a stable position, she was able to move forward. However, she still wasn't able to stand independently.
So Jiaxin had to stop her therapy when the money ran out, which must have been so difficult. But because now she was able to walk, her parents thought that the challenges were over, but then they began to discover that there were other issues.
Yeah, in fact, they really thought that at this point she no longer had a disability. I mean, oftentimes for families, they're not really told the long-term nature of their child's disability. And so just like Jiaxin's parents, there's a false sense of hope that things will now be normal. However, later they realized that Jiaxin still had some challenges to face.
We realized that Jiaxin was not able to speak. Children her age are often able to say mama or papa. Jiaxin was only able to say ma or ba, the single sounds. When she was 1.5 years old, we took her for a checkup. The doctor told us, "Your child's speech is not developing." He suggested that we do speech therapy, but we told him about our financial situation. He mentioned that there are some organizations that can help, so we called the Disabled People's Federation.
So Jiaxin's mother once again faced not only the challenge of having insufficient finances, but also of needing to try and find somewhere that could help her with providing Jiaxin speech therapy.
And that must be so emotionally and mentally exhausting to be aware that your child needs intervention in order to continue to develop. You don't have the finances, and actually you don't even know where to look for that help.
Yeah. What made matters worse was that when she contacted the China's Disabled People's Federation, which is one of the organizations the doctor was referring her to, she was told their funding had run out. If she wanted to get any kind of support, she'd have to move to another city that still had funding available. So the situation honestly began to get really desperate for her mother, and she even began to contemplate the unthinkable. She began to consider whether it might be better for her to take Jiaxin's life and that of her own. I mean, she was desperate, out of options, and she didn't know what else to do. It was around this time that Jiaxin's mother learned about ICC's Family Partners Program. Our cross-care team began not only to work with Jiaxin, providing her with therapy and education, but to also support the whole family as well. And this made a radical difference to each member of that family.
Yeah, it must have been a huge relief for Jiaxin's mother to finally have access to expert help that wasn't going to leave her family destitute. Now, what kind of changes did her mother begin to see in Jiaxin?
Well, two big ones she's seen. First of all, Jiaxin's speaking. She's using simple words and phrases, which she was not doing before. The second change is she's becoming social. She was so quiet and reserved, but she's actually coming out of her shell now. She's speaking to people, and people are responding. So what's amazing is that now Jiaxin's mother not only has access to special education, physical therapy for Jiaxin, and support for her and her family, she also has something much more precious. She has hope. In fact, for her, having the support of ICC's Family Partners Program has, as she said, brought light into her life.
Wow, that's an amazing story, and it really does highlight the struggles that families that have children with disabilities face. And yet, of course, Jiaxin and her family are one of thousands of families and one of thousands of stories of desperation. Now, David, I mentioned a little earlier tonight that ICC has been given a unique opportunity to expand our services to even more families. Can you tell us briefly a little bit about those opportunities?
Yeah, as best we can tell, there are around 7,000 additional families just in the Changsha area that need the kinds of services that we provide. In addition, there's outlying areas such as Hengyang, where we have plans to open a project as soon as possible. So the need is great. The doors are open, and we're prayerfully going to be taking advantage of the opportunities.
I find this so exciting. As ICC's founder, I can see the potential that there is. But of course, this story really does focus in on the pressures and the stress that families are living under, and actually how that can all change with something so simple when someone comes alongside and provides those care and services that a family needs.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I mean, for the Chinese government to ask ICC to take this on, it really does demonstrate the unique relationship that ICC has with the government, local and otherwise.
I find this a really moving story. And of course, the ending isn't written yet. And it may be a long journey for Jiaxin, but I'm excited that we can continue to walk with her and her mother and to see her reach hopefully her fullest potential and achieve some of the dreams that she carries inside of her. Well, David, before we wrap up tonight, do you have a few words that you'd like to say to those that are watching?
Well, I would just like to say that the change that's been made in this family is a big one. And the mother has, in her own words, gone from a victim to an advocate. She is now reaching out to other parents, other families, encouraging them to keep going, keep on keeping on. And what you have the opportunity to do tonight is you also can be an advocate. You can be an advocate for this work. You can be an advocate for these children, for these families. You can make a big, big difference. I would encourage you to dig deep tonight and invest in their future because it's going to be bright.
David, thank you so much. The work that you're doing with these families is so, so important. And we really hope that through this Race Against Time Gala, we can actually help that many more families. So thanks again and good night.
My pleasure. Thanks.
I really do love what David and his team are doing as they reach out to families right across the city of Changsha, changing lives. And as David shared with us this evening, there are thousands of families that have a child with a disability just in the city of Changsha. And many, if not most, are struggling like Jiaxin's mother. It's a real tragic reality, isn't it? What I honestly can say that I found so hard to hear just now was Jiaxin's mother's desperation that led her to contemplate taking Jiaxin's life and her own. How tragic would that have been? However, because of ICC's Family Partners Program, Jiaxin and her mother have now received support and hope. And you know what they're doing? They're passing it on to other families. Being asked by the local government to help an additional 7,000 families is almost unimaginable right now in a place like China. Even though China has changed and the government is allocating more funding to these issues, there are still so many people that slip through the cracks, just like there are here in Canadian society. We live in one of the most developed nations, and yet we still have the United Way collecting money to help people on the downtown east side, providing them with food and homes. And the reality is, in China, ICC is one of only 12 organizations that are permitted to work with children and youth with disabilities. We're one of the very few organisations that have both the respect and the expertise to truly make a difference to these families. ICC's future is looking bright because God has given us incredible opportunities, but the dream of making those 7,000 families come true, helping them get the support that they need, is another reason why we're here tonight. And that's why we're asking for your help to make it happen. So, Let's do another check-in. I always get excited at this point because I have to look down myself and check to see where we're at. So we are at $75,898. That actually is truly amazing. We are 3/4 of the way to meeting our goal. And you can see the little man, he is straining to get towards that finish line. And that's what you can help us do tonight. A big thank you to all of you that have given since we began this evening. Your generosity really is amazing. Now, in this race against time, you've heard from Lowell and Julie, who literally raced across Canada, and about how Lowell is racing to fulfill his dream to become a Paralympic cyclist. You've heard from Josh Dueck, and you've heard his story and seen how his dream has been realised through winning gold at the very own Vancouver Paralympics. How exciting must that have been? I know that I feel inspired by them. And yet tonight, we've also heard some other stories from 3 beautiful, unique individuals who may never be Paralympians, but who certainly, I believe, have dreams. We've heard from Swanu, who began life suffering, abandoned, without any hope, and how her dream to become a pianist and music teacher has come true with ICC's help. And we've heard about Jiaxin and Liang Yang, 2 children whose race has just only begun. It could have been tragically cut short, yet now they have the opportunity to realise their potential and discover their dreams. Here's what I see tonight. I see that for you and for me, our dreams are all different, aren't they? We're all unique. We all have our own unique dreams. The dreams of Lowell are not Josh's dreams. Swanu's dreams will not be Liang Liang's or Jiaxin's dreams. What might achievement look like for one of ICC's children? What is their gold medal? Well, I'd like to share with you a video that shows the literally bumpy journey that some of ICC's children face as they seek to achieve something that comes so naturally to most of us. That is learning to walk. Take a look.
There's a rhythm in my soul, a race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Looking high, feeling deep, I need to know that you're with me. Are you with me? It's feeling wild, feeling weak, I don't know. Well, are you with me? Oh, are you with me? Through the rain, through the rays, through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, a race I need to run.
I just love seeing these 2 children go through that process of learning to walk. I love seeing them kind of tip down on their bums and then getting up again because they didn't want to give up. And then I love how at the end you see the little boy being held each hand by 2 other children. What a beautiful example of what we get to do to help these children, to metaphorically join our hands with them and to walk that journey. Learning to walk is such a simple thing, and yet for many of our children it is pure gold. Now, around the world, ICC has people just like you that stand with us, and through people's generosity we're able to expand the work that we do and help even more children and families. I'd like to introduce you to one of our supporters, Brandon Huey. Brandon and his family are a local business owners here in Vancouver and have been long-time supporters of ICC's work. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Brandon Huey, and with International China Concern, I have a couple hats that I wear. Our family business, Park Georgia Insurance, has been long-term supporters of ICC over the years, even before the 5 years that I returned to Vancouver. I'm also on the board of Lord's Peace Chapel, which has been, again, long-term supporters. And just last year, LPC has merged with West Point Great Baptist Church, where I also am on the board, and I'm also treasurer. And we also will be supporting there as well. But the reason why we do support is just because of the great and transformative work that ICC does in China, especially with the most vulnerable children and youth. And every time we get an update from the ICC team or with David Gotts, I mean, we always learn something new, and their scope of service just continues to expand. And most recently with an extension of services to families outside of the centers in supporting them and their support of their disabled children as well. So we are very keen to support, and we just want to encourage you at this Race Against Time Gala to give generously so that ICC can continue to work and build their ministry in China. And we certainly will be supporting as best we can as well. So thank you so much.
So we're coming towards the end of our evening, and I want to sum up what this Race Against Time is all about. It's about racing to reach families that are going to break apart without help. It's about racing to reach children who live a hopeless existence without help. It's about reaching 7,000 new families that ICC has been invited to support. It's about giving all of these children the opportunity to fulfill their potential and to reach for their dreams instead of living lives being locked away. It's about, in the future, being able to look back and to tell thousands more stories like Suanu's. And it's about Liang Yang, helping him run his race. It's about Jiaxin and her family, as they not only receive hope, but now pass it on to others. This is the Race Against Time, and this is where you come in. In ICC, we trust God will provide all that we need. However, we know He often does that through caring and compassionate people like you. And so tonight, I want to invite you to give generously. Let's check in on where we're at already this evening. Okay, we are currently at 77,748. Well, you have the opportunity tonight to help push us further towards that finish line. So this is where we come to our response time. I know many of you have already given, but if you haven't, then please think about making your donation in the next few minutes. And here's the donation link for you. It's www.givecan.live. That's www.givecan.live, and you can scan that QR code if you'd like to do that. Well, as you consider your response to all that you've heard this evening, enjoy Alison's song The Race one more time and the images of the children that we serve.
There's a rhythm in my soul, a race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Through the rain and through the rays and through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, a race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Looking high, feeling deep, need to know that you're with me. Are you with me? It's feeling wild, feeling weak, I don't know. Are you with me? Oh, are you with me? Through the rain, through the rays, through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, there's a race I need to run. Can you take my hand? Everybody needs someone. Through the rain, through the rays, and through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, the race I need to run.
Well, I hope you enjoyed hearing that song once again. What a beautiful song, and thank you so much. We're almost at the end of the evening. I hope you didn't think that song was the end, because there's one more little thing that I'd love to do. I'd love to welcome Mark Wallenberg, ICC Canada's new Executive Director, to join us. Mark, it's great to be with you and everyone from across Western Canada. Now, Mark, you've only been in this role for a few months now. Tell us briefly about the journey that's led you to ICC.
Gladly, David. For the last 25 years, I've been on this journey of discovering that God's heart has a particular bias towards the poor, the orphan, and the oppressed. And as a pastor, and then as someone who worked in another organization that addressed issues of injustice, I've come to the strong conviction that all of us have a responsibility to love mercy and to act justly. ICC embraces both of these values. We provide practical help for those children who've experienced abandonment, but we also work to see that families are supported so that abandoning their children with disabilities does not have to be their only option.
Yeah, Mark, I love that. I love your heart for justice and mercy, and that fits so perfectly into ICC. And thank you for bringing that heart even more into the work that we do. Now, Mark, this has been your first ICC Gala event, this Race Against Time, and I've got to ask, have you enjoyed it?
It actually has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed everything that has been shared, all who have contributed. And I think the message that I hope everybody has heard is this: when you have people around you who believe in you and see your potential, there is so much that can be accomplished.
Exactly. People around you who believe in you. In other words, that need for community really is essential. And, you know, we've heard that from Swanu today. We've heard that from the families in our Family Partners program, and even from athletes that are competing on the world stage. They all need that community around them. Well, I'm excited. Let's do another check-in with our thermometer and see where we're up to right now. Wow, that's great.
Amazing. Oh, so encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we want to keep on going so that we can help as many families and children as possible. But before we finish up, Mark, would you like to share a few words with us and those that are supporting us tonight?
Yeah, I just want to say it's been a privilege for me to get to know some of our faithful supporters and hear about your passion for the work of ICC. For those of you who are new to ICC like myself, I look forward to sharing more about this amazing organization with you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark, so much. It's a pleasure to get to work with you. Enjoy the rest of the gala this evening, and good night.
Good night.
So now you've met our new Executive Director, Mark Wallenberg, and I know that if you want to learn more about ICC's work, Mark and his team, Karen and Kathy here on the West Coast, will really enjoy meeting with you, getting to know you. Well, we are at a close, and I want to thank you for your generosity this evening. We're going to do one last look. Oh my goodness, we are so close. $99,378. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. It means we are just literally, what, $622 from pushing our little man over the line. And you know, what's really great is that these links are going to remain open for the next coming days, that we know there's going to be some more gifts coming in, and we're going to get across that $100,000 threshold. I am convinced of it. Well, we so appreciate the support of everyone across Western Canada, and earlier this evening across Eastern Canada. And it's just been an amazing opportunity to be able to be with you and to share stories and hopefully encourage you, inspire you, help you to see that even though you're right across here on this side of the world, you can make a difference. You can bless a child, you can walk hand in hand with them, you can reach out to a family, you can help bring hope. And that is what the work of ICC seeks to do. And thank you so much for joining with us and for partnering with us this evening. So all that remains is for me to bless each and every one of you, to wish you God's richest blessings in your own life as you continue to be generous, and for your support of China's most vulnerable children. Thank you again for joining ICC's Race Against Time. Good night.
There's a rhythm in my soul. race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Through the rain and through the rays and through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, a race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Looking high, feeling deep, need to know that you're with me. Are you with me? It's feeling wild, feeling weak, I don't know.
Okay, I'm back. I know you thought we were done, but I just wanted to jump back in and tell you that we tipped over the $100,000 mark. So we are at $100,278. It continues to go up and we're so thankful. Please keep going because we're able to reach even more families and children through your generosity. Please share this event with your friends and family. It's going to be available on YouTube. And as I said, those links are available. If this has blessed you tonight, then share it with others. Share the work of ICC with those around you. Thank you again. Bless you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
There's a rhythm in my soul, a race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Through the rain and through the rays and through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, a race I want to run. Can you take my hand? Right now I need someone. Looking high, feeling deep, need to know that you're with me. Are you with me? It's feeling wild, feeling weak, I don't know. Are you with me? Oh, are you with me? Through the rain, through the rays, through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, there's a race I need to run. Can you take my hand? Everybody needs someone. Through the rain, through the rays, and through the bed-bound days, through the noise and the haze, I hear your voice say, just one step at a time. There's a rhythm in my soul, the race I need to run.